Little girl takes oxen for a walk every day, until they discover the reason. Jennifer Parker watched from the kitchen window while wiping away the tears that insisted on falling. 3 months ago, she and her husband, Robert, had left their 7-year-old daughter in the care of her maternal grandfather at the farm, promising to find financial stability in the big city. What they didn't expect was to discover, through neighborhood gossip, that little Emily had developed a peculiar routine that left the entire rural community of Riverdale intrigued. It was 5:30 in the morning when Mrs. Thompson, the closest neighbor, called Jennifer with a mixture of concern and curiosity in her voice. The girl went out every day before sunrise, holding firmly onto the ropes of 2 enormous oxen, walking along the dirt road as if it were the most natural thing in the world. When anyone tried to ask about that unusual scene, Emily would just smile with her bright dark eyes and continue on her way, leading the animals with a determination that impressed even the most experienced adults in handling cattle. "Jennifer, you need to know what's happening here. That child walks with 2 500-pound oxen as if they were little pet dogs," said Thompson, her voice filled with a genuine concern that made Jennifer's heart race. On the other end of the line, Jennifer held the phone tightly, feeling her legs tremble. She and Robert had moved to Chicago 3 months ago, after he got a job at a metalworking factory, and she got a position as a cleaning assistant at a hospital. The tiny apartment they rented in the outlying neighborhood barely fit the 2 of them, which is why they decided to leave Emily temporarily with her grandfather, William, the grandfather who had raised Jennifer since she was little. "But what do you mean, Thompson? Is Grandpa William letting her handle the cattle?" asked Jennifer, her voice choked. "That's what I want to know, my dear. Everyone here is talking about it. The girl goes out in the early morning and only returns mid-morning. The oxen obey her as if she were an experienced trainer. I've never seen anything like it." Jennifer hung up the phone and ran to the small room where Robert was still sleeping, the fatigue from hard work evident on his sun-tanned face. She shook him gently. "Robert, wake up. Something's happened with Emily." He opened his brown eyes, still blurry with sleep. "What is it? Did something happen?" he asked, quickly getting up. Jennifer told him about Thompson's call. With each word, Robert grew more worried. "It doesn't make sense. Mr. William would never let a child handle cattle alone. He has too much experience for that." "That's what I think. Something isn't right. We'll have to go back there this weekend." Meanwhile, 300 miles away, on the small farm that was 5 kilometers from the center of Riverdale, Emily woke up before the first rooster crow. She dressed in silence, putting on the red jacket her mother had left for colder days, and walked on tiptoe to the kitchen. She prepared a bottle of water and some bread left over from the previous night's dinner, always careful not to wake Grandpa William. The girl knew he hadn't been sleeping well for weeks. She heard him moving restlessly in bed, sometimes even talking to himself during the night. Several times she caught him hitting his hands on the walls, as if trying to find something, and always with that confused expression on his face, wrinkled by time and farm work. Emily sighed softly while tying her brown hair into a ponytail. She didn't fully understand what was happening with her grandfather, but she sensed that something had changed since her parents left. He who once took care of the cattle with such ease and knowledge now seemed lost, as if the world around him was getting blurry. That's why she decided to help. Leaving the house through the back door, Emily walked to the corral where Thunder and Hope were waiting for her. Thunder was the oldest ox, with dark brown fur and horns that seemed to embrace the sky. Hope was smaller, with white spots scattered over her robust body and a gentler gaze. "Good morning, boys," she whispered, extending her hand for them to sniff. "Today we're going to Mr. Johnson's pasture again. The grass there is greener." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. The 2 animals seemed to understand every word. Thunder lowered his big head so she could pet between his horns, while Hope approached slowly, as if greeting an old friend. Emily took the ropes hanging on the fence, and with a skill that even surprised herself, gently tied them around the animals' necks. It wasn't a tight knot, but rather a gentle guide, as if it were a golden chain connecting the 3 hearts. The walk to Mr. Johnson's pasture took about 40 minutes. It was a route that went along the main dirt road that cut through Riverdale, past the rural school where Emily studied. past Mr. Wilson's store, and past the houses of several families who had lived there for generations. Along the way, the girl talked to Thunder and Hope as if they were people. She told them about the dreams she had about her parents, about how she missed her mother's hug at bedtime, about how Grandpa William seemed more distant every day, even though he was right there beside her. "Do you know, sometimes I'm afraid Grandpa might be getting sick and doesn't want to tell me," she said, looking at Thunder. "Yesterday he almost knocked over the bean pot because he didn't see it was on the table." Hope mooed softly, as if agreeing. "And you two are the only ones who really listen to me. Mom and Dad call every Sunday, but they're always in a hurry or worried about work. They have no idea that I wake up in the middle of the night just to make sure you're well fed." The truth was more complex than Emily could explain with a child's words. She had noticed that her William wasn't able to take care of the animals like before. Several times she saw him trying to milk the cows, but missing the bucket. Other times she found him standing in the middle of the pasture, as if he had gotten lost in the very land he had known for over 60 years. That's when she decided to take responsibility for the oxen. She woke up early, took them to graze where the grass was most nutritious, made sure they drank clean water, and brought them back home before her grandfather was fully awake. To him, it seemed as if the animals were taking care of themselves, as they always had. But the community was starting to notice. Mrs. Rose, who lived in the yellow house near the school, was one of the first to comment at the Saturday market. "My goodness, have you seen that girl from the Parker family? Every day early in the morning she passes by here with 2 oxen all alone. Since when does a child that small take care of cattle?" Mr. Johnson, the owner of the pasture where Emily took the animals, was also intrigued. He had noticed that the grass on his land was being trimmed in a very organized way, as if someone knew exactly where the oxen should graze to avoid destroying the grass. "It's the work of someone who understands cattle," he commented to his wife, Mrs. Davis. "But that girl is too young to know these things." Teacher Sarah from the rural school was the one who was most concerned. She noticed that Emily arrived at class always tired, with dirt marks on her clothes and sometimes with hay stuck in her hair. During lessons, the girl struggled to keep her eyes open, especially in the early morning classes. "Emily, are you sleeping well at home?" asked Sarah on a Thursday, after the girl nearly dozed off during math class. "Yes, Miss Sarah, it's just that I've been helping Grandpa with some things on the farm." "What kind of things?" "Normal things. Taking care of the animals, that sort of thing." Sarah wasn't satisfied with the answer. That afternoon, after classes, she decided to talk to some of the students' mothers who lived in the area. "Mrs. Thompson, have you seen Emily in the morning?" "Oh, teacher, that girl has me worried. Every day she passes by here with 2 huge oxen. It looks like a scene from a movie, a tiny little child leading those giant animals. And Mr. William, does he know about this?" "That's the mystery. No one sees him around. The girl leaves alone and returns alone. I've thought about going there to ask, but you know how private he is." Sarah nodded, knowing well the personality of Emily's grandfather. William Parker had always been a man of few words, who solved his problems without involving other people. But leaving a 7-year-old child alone with cattle was something that didn't fit with him. On Friday of that week, Sarah made a decision. She woke up earlier and went to the main road, hoping to see Emily passing by with the animals. She wanted to better understand what was happening. It was 5:40 in the morning when she saw the small figure in a red jacket walking determinedly, with Thunder and Hope by her side. The scene was truly impressive. The oxen, which could easily drag the girl, walked at her pace, stopping when she stopped, changing direction when she gently pulled the ropes. Sarah followed from a distance, curious to see where they were going. She saw when Emily opened the gate to Mr. Johnson's pasture, when she let the oxen loose to feed, when she sat under a tree taking bread and water from her small backpack. But what caught her attention the most was seeing how Emily talked to the animals. She didn't just speak, but seemed to be having a real conversation, waiting for responses, reacting to the movements and sounds they made. "Thunder, you're a bit sad today. Is it because of the rain that didn't come yesterday?" she said, stroking the animal's muzzle. The ox moved closer, as if really responding. "Hope, you need to eat more. You're too thin. Grandpa would be worried if he knew." Sarah was moved by the scene. It was evident that this girl had developed a special bond with the animals, but it was also clear that she was carrying a responsibility too great for her age. When Emily started gathering the oxen to return home, Sarah decided to approach. "Good morning, Emily." The girl was startled, nearly dropping the ropes. "Miss Sarah, what are you doing here? I could ask you the same thing. Are you here alone?" Emily looked around, as if searching for an answer. "I'm taking care of Thunder and Hope. They like to come here in the morning." "And does your grandfather know that you bring them here alone?" The question made Emily lower her eyes. She stayed silent for a few seconds, nervously fidgeting with the rope she was holding. "Grandpa has been very busy. I'm just helping." "Emily, tell me the truth. What's happening at your house?" The girl took a deep breath, as if making a very important decision. "Miss Sarah, can I trust you?" "Of course you can. Grandpa is different. Sometimes he can't see properly where he puts things. Yesterday he looked for his hat for an hour, but it was on his head, and he can't take care of the animals like before." Sarah felt her heart tighten. She was beginning to understand the situation. "So you decided to take care of the cattle by yourself?" "Not by myself. Thunder and Hope help me. They're very smart and know what needs to be done. I just follow along." "But Emily, you're too young for this responsibility." "I know I'm young, but if I don't do it, who will? Mum and Dad are far away working to earn money. Grandpa he needs help, but doesn't want to accept it. So I help, without him knowing." Sarah crouched down to be at the girl's eye level. "And you're not afraid of handling such large animals?" "At first I was, but they're affectionate. Thunder can be a bit grumpy with others, but he's gentle with me. And Hope is like my friend. She always knows when I'm sad." At that moment, as if proving what Emily had said, Hope approached and rested her head on the girl's shoulder in a gesture that seemed like a hug. "See? She knows I'm a little scared, because you discovered our secret." Sarah remained silent for a moment, processing everything she had heard. That child was dealing with a situation far too complex for her age, yet she demonstrated impressive maturity and sense of responsibility. "Emily, do your parents know your grandfather is struggling?" "No. Grandpa made me promise not to tell. He said they're already too worried about their work in the big city." "But they need to know." "Are you going to tell them?" asked Emily, with a mixture of fear and hope in her voice. "I don't know yet. First, I need to better understand what's happening. Can I talk to your grandfather?" "You can, but he doesn't really like when people ask too many questions." Sarah walked back to the farm with Emily. Along the way, she observed how naturally the girl guided the cattle, as if she were truly born for that task. When they reached Mr. Williams' property, he was sitting on the porch, drinking coffee, and seemingly unaware that the animals had been out. "Good morning, Mr. William," Sarah greeted. "Oh, teacher, good morning. What brings you here so early?" "I came to talk about Emily. I've noticed she's been somewhat tired at school." William looked at his granddaughter, who was letting the cattle into the pen. "Kids that age get tired, lots of games, lots of playing." "Mr. William, may I speak with you privately?" They moved aside a bit, and Sarah chose her words carefully. "I saw Emily taking the cattle to graze this morning. She was alone." William fell silent for a moment. Sarah noticed an expression of confusion cross his face. "The cattle? She was with the cattle?" "Yes, taking them to Mr. Johnson's pasture, alone." "But I don't remember telling her to do that." The confusion in his voice confirmed Sarah's suspicions. Something was wrong, and Emily was trying to handle it alone. "Mr. William, have you been having trouble seeing lately?" He looked at the ground, as if ashamed. "A little, but it's just age. It'll pass soon." "And Emily knows about this?" "That girl's too clever. You can't hide anything from her." Sarah realized she needed to act delicately. William was a proud man who had built the farm with his own hands and cared for his family for decades. Admitting he needed help would be very difficult for him. "Mr. William, perhaps it would be good for Emily's parents to know she's taking on too many responsibilities. No, they're already struggling in the big city. I won't be another burden in their lives." "But, sir—" "Teacher, I can handle taking care of my granddaughter. I always have. Sarah saw he was closing off, but she couldn't simply ignore the situation. A 7-year-old child shouldn't bear the weight of running a farm alone. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. This really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing, that afternoon Sarah decided to call Jennifer. She knew it would be a difficult but necessary conversation. Jennifer, this is Teacher Sarah from Emily's school. Hello, teacher. Is something wrong? I need to talk with you about a delicate situation. Emily is fine, but there's something you need to know. Jennifer felt her heart race. What is it? Sarah told her everything she had observed. Emily's morning routine, the care of the cattle, her tiredness at school, and especially the conversation with Mr. William. Teacher, are you saying my 7-year-old daughter is taking care of livestock by herself? That's right. And from what I noticed, she's doing it because she realized her grandfather is having vision problems. Jennifer began to cry on the other end of the line. How did I not notice this? How could I leave my daughter in such a situation? Jennifer, you didn't know, but now you need to decide what to do. We'll go get her right now. Wait, talk first. Understand the whole situation. Emily has developed a very strong bond with the animals, and Mr. William needs medical care. Jennifer hung up the phone and told Robert everything. They spent the rest of the day discussing what to do. Robert wanted to go get their daughter immediately, but Jennifer thought they first needed to understand how to resolve the entire situation. Robert, we can't just take the girl away from there. And your father-in-law, he needs help too. But our daughter is carrying a responsibility that isn't hers. I know, but let's take it easy. On Saturday, we'll go there and talk with everyone. Meanwhile, Emily continued her routine. On Saturday morning, as always, she woke up before sunrise to take Thunder and Hope to the pasture. But this time, when she was returning, she saw a familiar car parked in front of the house. Her parents had arrived. The girl's heart raced. Had someone told them about her secret routine? Was she in trouble? She put the cattle in the pen and ran to the house. Jennifer and Robert were in the living room, talking seriously with Grandpa William. When they saw their daughter arrive, everyone fell silent. Mom! Dad! Emily shouted, running into their arms. Jennifer hugged her tight, smelling the scent of the fields in her daughter's hair. My daughter, Mom missed you. Why did you come? Weren't you supposed to come only on Sunday? Robert looked at his father-in-law, then at his daughter. Emily, Teacher Sarah called Mom. She said you've been taking the cattle out by yourself. Emily looked at her grandfather, who had his head down. Grandpa, I'm sorry. I didn't want anyone to know. William stood up slowly and approached his granddaughter. No, my dear. I'm the one who should apologize. I let you carry a burden that wasn't yours. Jennifer knelt in front of her daughter. Emily, why didn't you tell us you were taking care of the animals? Because you were already worried about work, and Grandpa asked me not to tell that he was having trouble seeing. But honey, you're too young for this responsibility. I know I'm young, Mum, but Thunder and Hope needed care. If I didn't do it, they would go hungry or eat bad grass. And Grandpa was trying so hard to hide that he wasn't seeing well. The girl began to cry. I just wanted to help. I just wanted everyone to be okay. Robert felt a lump in his throat. His little daughter had taken on an adult responsibility to protect both the animals and her grandfather. Emily, you did something very beautiful by wanting to help, but now we need to solve this together. Are you going to take the cattle away? She asked, frightened. Jennifer and Robert looked at each other. They hadn't thought through the details of how to resolve the situation. We don't know yet, honey. First, we'll take Grandpa to the doctor to see what can be done to improve his eyesight. William grumbled. Don't need no doctor, it's just old age. Yes, you do, Grandpa, said Emily with a seriousness that surprised everyone. The lady at the pharmacy said when someone can't see well, the doctor can give them glasses or even do surgery. Which lady at the pharmacy? Asked Jennifer. Mrs. Claudia. When I went to buy Grandpa's headache medicine, she asked if he was seeing well. I said I didn't think so, and she explained all this to me. Jennifer realized her daughter had become a little adult in just a few months, handling complex situations even she wouldn't know how to resolve. That afternoon, they took William to the nearest town where there was an eye doctor. Dr. Henry examined his eyes for almost an hour. "Mr. William, you have cataracts in both eyes. That's why your vision is getting blurry, but it's something that can be treated." "What kind of treatment?" asked Robert. "Surgery. It's a relatively simple procedure. I remove the cloudy lens from the eye and put in an artificial one. Recovery is quick." "And is it expensive?" asked William, worried. "Through Medicare, it doesn't cost anything. I just need to put you on the surgery wait list." "And how long does that take?" Jennifer wanted to know. "About 3 months to be called." Emily, who had stayed quiet during the entire appointment, finally spoke. "Doctor, if Grandpa has the surgery, will he be able to see the cows again?" Dr. Henry smiled at the girl. "He'll be able to see everything again, little one. His vision will be better than it's been in years." On the way back to the farm, the family talked about how to organize things over the next few months. "Dad, while you wait for surgery, maybe it would be better for Emily to come to the city with us," suggested Robert. "No," the girl immediately protested. "Who will take care of Thunder and Hope?" "We can hire someone to look after the animals," said Jennifer, "but they won't like strangers. Thunder only listens to me and Grandpa, and Hope gets sad when she has no one to talk to." William, who had been quiet in the front seat, finally spoke. "The girl's right. The animals are used to her. It would be cruel to separate them now." "Then what should we do?" asked Robert. Emily thought for a moment. "I have an idea. What if you moved back here?" "What do you mean?" asked Jennifer. "You could work nearby. Daddy knows about machines. He could work at old Joe's repair shop, and Mommy could help at the school or the health clinic. That way we'd all be together." Jennifer and Robert exchanged glances. It was a possibility they had never seriously considered. They were both tired of big city life, the high expenses, the distance from family. "But Emily, in the big city we make more money," Jennifer explained. "What's money for if we can't be together? And here you won't have to pay rent because we have Grandpa's house, or for buses because everything is close by." Robert laughed at his daughter's simple logic. "And who gave you all this wisdom?" "Thunder and Hope. When I talk to them, they help me think better." On Monday, Jennifer called the school principal to ask about possible openings for a teacher's assistant. To her surprise, they happened to need someone to help with the younger children. "Jennifer, that would be perfect. You know the community well, and the children already like you because of Emily," said Principal Margaret. Robert talked to old Joe at the repair shop, who confirmed he needed help fixing tractors and other farm machinery in the area. "Robert, there's more than enough work here. The problem is, there aren't enough people who understand mechanics. If you're up for it, I can even expand the workshop space." Within a week, Jennifer and Robert made the decision to return to Riverdale. The apartment in Chicago was abandoned, and they moved back to her father-in-law's farm. Emily was overjoyed. She'd finally have her parents nearby again, and could continue caring for Thunder and Hope. But life is rarely as simple as plans seem. 2 weeks after her parents' return, Emily woke up as usual to take the oxen to pasture. But when she reached the barn, she found Hope lying down, seeming unwell. "Hope, what's wrong?" she asked, stroking the cow's head. The animal was breathing differently and didn't get up when Emily approached. Frightened, she ran to call her grandfather. "Grandpa, there's something wrong with Hope." William, whose vision was still impaired, felt the animal and realized something was seriously wrong. "Call your father, Emily, quick!" Robert came running, and even without much cattle knowledge, he saw the situation was serious. "Let's call the vet." Dr. Anderson, the local veterinarian, arrived in 40 minutes. He examined Hope carefully. "She's pregnant," he announced. "Pregnant?" asked Emily, not understanding. "She's going to have a calf," explained Jennifer, emotional. "But why is she like this?" the girl wanted to know. Dr. Anderson looked seriously at the family. "It's a complicated pregnancy. She might have trouble giving birth. We'll need to monitor her closely." Emily felt her world collapse. Hope was her best friend among the animals, and now there was a risk of something bad happening. "Doctor, will she be okay?" she asked, her voice trembling. "We'll do everything possible, but you need to be prepared for any eventuality." In the following days, Emily hardly left Hope's side. She slept in the barn, brought food and water, constantly talking to her. "Hope, you have to stay strong. Your baby needs you." And I need you too. Jennifer tried to convince her daughter to sleep in the house. Emily, you need proper rest. I can't leave her alone, Mom. What if something happens during the night? Robert admired his daughter's dedication, but was also worried about her emotional state. Emily had formed such a strong bond with the animals that anything happening to them affected her deeply. Thunder also seemed to sense something was different. He stayed near Hope as if keeping his companion company. Look, Mom, even Thunder is worried, observed Emily. Yes, dear, animals sense these things. A week later, on a Tuesday dawn, Hope went into labor. Emily woke to the unusual sounds she was making and called her parents. Dr. Anderson was urgently summoned. He examined the animal and confirmed that the birth had started. It's going to be tough. The calf is in a difficult position. For 6 hours, the whole family watched Hope struggle. Emily held her head, whispering to calm her. Everything will be okay, Hope. You're strong. I'm here with you. Finally, after much effort, the calf was born. It was a female, small but healthy. She did it, shouted Emily, crying with emotion. Hope, exhausted but relieved, began licking her offspring. What will you name her? Asked Jennifer. Emily looked at the calf, trying to stand on its wobbly legs. Victory, because she overcame all difficulties to be born. William, despite his impaired vision, came closer to see the new family member. Let me touch her, he requested. When his work-roughened hands touched the calf, his eyes filled with tears. She's perfect. Just like her mother when she was born. In that moment, Emily realized something she had never noticed before. Hope wasn't just a cow her grandfather had raised. She had been born there on the farm, and Grandpa had been part of her whole life. Grandpa, was Hope born here? She asked. Yes, she was. 5 years ago. I was alone when her mother gave birth. It was on a cold night, just like tonight, and I stayed up all night taking care of them. Just like I did today. Exactly the same. Emily understood in that moment that her connection with animals wasn't just something she had developed on her own. It was something she had learned by watching her grandfather, even without realizing it. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like the video and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. In the following months, the family's life took a new direction. Jennifer got a job at the school, helping teacher Sarah with the preschool children. Robert opened his own workshop in partnership with old Joe, specializing in agricultural equipment maintenance. Emily continued caring for the animals, but now with her parents' help and guidance. She learned about animal nutrition, basic veterinary care, and even about farm management. Emily, you have a knack for this, observed Dr. Anderson during one of his regular visits. Have you thought about studying veterinary medicine when you grow up? Yes, I have. I want to learn everything about animals. William was finally called in for his cataract surgery. The procedure was a success, and for the first time in months he could see clearly. My goodness, he said, looking around the farm, how blurry everything was before. When he saw Victory playing in the pasture, he got emotional. Emily, she's so beautiful, and she's already big. Yes, Grandpa, she grows fast, and she's really smart. She already learned to come when I call her. The recovery of William's vision brought a new energy to him. He went back to actively taking care of the farm, but now sharing the tasks with Emily, who had become a true partner in the work. Grandpa, can we increase the herd? She asked one day. What do you mean? Thunder is getting too old to breed. We could buy a young bull and some cows. That way the farm grows. Robert laughed at the conversation between his father-in-law and his daughter. Sounds like a business meeting. It's just that Emily understands this stuff, William defended. She has an instinct for handling cattle. But not everything was simple. The farm was going through financial difficulties, made worse by the expenses from the surgery and William's other medical needs. Even with Jennifer and Robert's new jobs, there still wasn't enough money to invest in improvements. That's when a buyer interested in the herd appeared. Mr. Wallace, a cattle rancher from a neighboring town, offered a high price for Thunder, Hope, and Victory. It's a good offer, Robert said to Jennifer in a conversation they thought Emily wasn't hearing. It would solve our financial problems. But what about Emily's reaction? You know how attached she is to the animals. Maybe she'll understand it's necessary. But Emily had heard everything. That night, she couldn't sleep. The thought of being separated from Thunder, Hope, and Victory made her desperate. The next morning, she woke up earlier than usual and went straight to the corral. "Thunder, Hope, I have some bad news to tell you," she said, sitting down among the three animals. Victory, who was now 4 months old, came closer and nudged the girl's hand with her snout. "A man is going to come here who wants to buy you. Dad and Mom are thinking about selling because we need money." Hope let out a soft moo, as if she understood. "I don't want you to leave, but I also don't want Grandpa, Dad, and Mom to be worried about money." Emily cried, hugging the animals, for an hour. When she finally got up, she had made a decision. She was going to try to find a solution that would allow them to keep the animals while also solving the family's financial problems. During classes that day, Emily spoke with teacher Sarah about the situation. "Miss Sarah, is there any way to make money with animals without selling them?" Sarah was surprised by the question. "Why do you want to know that?" Emily told her about the purchase offer and her feelings about it. "I understand your concern. Let me think. There are some possibilities. Some people make money with rural tourism. Some give lessons about animals. There's also animal-assisted therapy." "What's animal-assisted therapy?" "It's when animals help people who have emotional or health problems. For example, children with learning difficulties sometimes feel better when they're around calm and affectionate animals." Emily's eyes lit up. "And does it pay?" "It can, if it's well organized. But it requires study, preparation, licenses." "Do you think our oxen could do that?" Sarah thought about the gentle temperament she had observed in Thunder and Hope, especially in how they responded to Emily. "Maybe yes, but it would be a long-term project." Emily left school determined to talk to her parents about this possibility. That night during dinner, she brought up the subject. "Dad, Mom, before you sell the oxen, can I suggest something?" Jennifer and Robert exchanged glances, surprised that she knew about the sale offer. "What do you want to suggest?" asked Jennifer. "Ms. Sarah told me about animal therapy. People who are sad or sick feel better when they're around affectionate animals." "So?" Robert wanted to know. "What if we turned our farm into a place like that? People would pay to bring their children to play with Thunder, Hope, and Victory, and we could also teach about animal care." William stopped eating and looked at his granddaughter. "Emily, that's a very interesting idea, but it's complicated too." "Why, Grandpa?" "It requires permits, preparation, investment. It's almost like starting a business." Robert leaned forward, interested in the conversation. "But it's not impossible. I know people who have done similar things in other towns." Jennifer also began to consider the idea. "And you, Emily, would you be willing to study a lot about this? Because it's not just playing with animals. You'd have to learn about psychology, veterinary care, management. I want to learn everything. If it's to keep our animals and help people at the same time, I'll make any sacrifice." The conversation went on late into the night. They discussed pros and cons, costs and benefits, risks and opportunities. "Let's do this," Robert decided finally. "I'll talk to Mr. Wallace, explain that we're considering other options, and ask for some time to decide. Meanwhile, we'll research more about this animal therapy idea." "And if it doesn't work out?" asked Jennifer. "If it doesn't work out, at least we tried. And Emily will know we did everything we could to keep the animals," replied William. In the following days, the whole family dedicated themselves to researching animal-assisted therapy. Jennifer spoke with healthcare professionals in town, Robert investigated the legal and financial aspects, and Emily began observing the oxen's behavior even more attentively. "Mum, I discovered something," she said one afternoon. "Thunder and Hope react differently with different people. With small children, they become more careful. With older people, they become calmer." "How did you notice that?" "Yesterday, Mrs. Claudia came here with her little granddaughter. Victory was super affectionate with the girl, but respected when she got scared. And when Mr. Johnson came to borrow some tools, Thunder stayed quietly by his side, as if knowing he had back pain." Jennifer was impressed by her daughter's observation skills. "You're right. They really seem to understand people." Sarah, who had become a sort of unofficial consultant for the project, brought important information. I spoke with a psychologist from Chicago who works with animal-assisted therapy. She said you'd need training for both the animals and the family, but that the project has potential. And what would be necessary? Asked Robert. First, a training course, then adaptations at the farm to receive visitors, and authorization from the proper authorities. How long does that take? About 6 months to have everything running properly. The problem was that Mr. Wallace was pressing for an answer about buying the animals. Robert, I need a decision. I have other interested parties too, but I like your animals, he said in a phone conversation. Mr. Wallace, would it be possible for you to wait another month? We're considering an alternative project. A month is too long. The most I can give is 2 weeks. When Robert told the family about the deadline, everyone felt the pressure mounting. 2 weeks isn't enough to organize everything, said Jennifer. But maybe it's enough to get started, suggested Emily. How so? Asked William. We can do a trial run. Invite some people to come here, see how the cattle react if people like it. If it works, we show Mr. Wallace we have an alternative. Emily's idea made sense to everyone. They had 2 weeks to prove the project could work. Jennifer spoke with the school principal about the possibility of bringing some children for an activity at the farm. Principal Margaret loved the idea. Jennifer, it would be perfect to complement lessons about nature and animals. When can we come? Next Saturday. Done. I'll bring 10 children. Robert prepared the farm to receive the children. He fixed fences, cleaned the pasture, organized a covered space in case it rained. Emily trained with the animals, teaching simple commands and testing how they reacted to different situations. Thunder, when the children arrive, you have to stay very calm, she said, stroking the ox's neck. Some might be scared, so you show them you're gentle. Saturday arrived, and with it 10 children between 6 and 10 years old, accompanied by Principal Margaret and Teacher Sarah. Children, today you'll meet Emily's friends, announced Margaret. But remember, you must respect and be careful with the animals. When the children saw Thunder, Hope, and Victory, the reaction was mixed. Some were enchanted, others scared by the animals' size. Aunt Emily, do they bite? Asked little Johnny, age 6. No, they're herbivores. They only eat grass and feed. Want to come closer? Emily took little Johnny's hand and led him to Hope, who was lying in the shade. You can stroke her neck. Very slowly. When little Johnny touched Hope, his eyes widened. She's warm. That's because she's alive, just like us. Can you feel her heart beating? Within minutes, little Johnny was completely at ease with the animals. Other children gradually approached. Victory was the one who won over the children most. Being smaller and younger, she seemed less intimidating. Can I feed her? Asked little Julie. Yes, you can, but only grass and feed, no sweets or snacks. Jennifer watched everything from a distance, enchanted by the naturalness her daughter demonstrated, while teaching and caring for the children, while simultaneously tending to the animals. Robert, look how she does this, she whispered to her husband. It's like she was born to be a teacher. And the animals are perfect too. Look how still Thunder is, letting the children get close. After 2 hours of activities, the children were euphoric. Miss Margaret, can we come back next week? Asked little Charlie. If Emily's family allows it, of course, Emily replied immediately. When the children left, the family gathered to evaluate how the experience had been. It was better than I expected, admitted Robert. And the children loved it, added Jennifer. I saw several little ones who had never touched a large animal. The most important thing is that it worked for both the children and the oxen, observed William. The animals stayed calm and the children lost their fear. Emily was radiant. Grandpa, did you see how much Victory liked little Julie? She followed the girl all around the pasture. Yes, I saw. And Thunder was smart too. When he saw that the younger boy was scared, he moved away so as not to frighten him. Sarah, who had documented the entire activity, showed the photos and notes she had taken. You need to see this, she said, swiping through the photos on her phone. The children's expressions completely changed during the time they spent here. In the photos you could see the transformation. Children who arrived shy or scared left smiling and confident. The psychologist I spoke to said this is exactly the result sought in animal-assisted therapy, explained Sarah. Excited by the success of the first test, they organized a second activity for the middle of the following week. This time, Jennifer invited some children who attended the health clinic where she worked. Children who had some kind of emotional or health difficulty. Among them was Gabriel, an 8-year-old boy known for being aggressive at school and having relationship problems with other children. "Jennifer, are you sure you want to bring Gabriel?" asked the clinic nurse. "He might scare the animals. Let's try. Sometimes contact with animals calms restless children." When Gabriel arrived at the farm, he was clearly uncomfortable and distrustful. "I don't like animals," he announced, crossing his arms. "That's okay," said Emily calmly. "You can just watch. You don't have to touch them if you don't want to." But while the other children interacted with the animals, Gabriel watched from a distance. Emily noticed that he was especially interested in Thunder. "Is that ox over there mean?" he asked, pointing at Thunder. "Sometimes he gets serious, but he's not mean. Why do you ask?" "Because I get serious too. The people at school say I'm mean." Emily understood the identification Gabriel was making. "Want to get to know him up close? I promise I'll stay by your side." Gabriel hesitated, but eventually agreed. When they approached Thunder, something magical happened. The ox, who really did have a more serious temperament, looked directly at Gabriel and slowly lowered himself, as if bowing. "He liked you," said Emily, surprised by Thunder's reaction. "How do you know?" "Because he only does that for people he considers special." Gabriel was moved. For the first time in a long time, someone, even if it was an ox, had treated him as special instead of problematic. "Can I touch him?" "Of course," but very slowly. When Gabriel placed his hand on Thunder's neck, his eyes filled with tears. "He's warm and soft." From that moment on, Gabriel transformed. He spent the rest of the afternoon taking care of Thunder, talking to him, helping Emily give him food and water. When it was time to leave, Gabriel didn't want to go. "Miss Emily, can I come back tomorrow? We'll try to organize other meetings. Will Thunder miss me?" Emily looked at the boy, who had completely changed during those few hours. "Yes, he will. You two have become friends." When Gabriel left, Jennifer was emotional. "Emily, did you see that boy's transformation?" "I did, Mom. It was incredible." That's exactly what animal-assisted therapy can do. Help people connect with themselves through animals. The following week, they received an unexpected call. It was Gabriel's mother. "Jennifer, I wanted to thank you. My son came home completely changed. He talked non-stop about Thunder the ox and your farm. I'm glad he enjoyed it." "More than enjoyed. For the first time in months, he hasn't had any aggressive outbursts at school. His teacher is impressed." That call was the confirmation that they were on the right path. There was 1 week left until the deadline Mr. Wallace had given them, and the family decided to make one final presentation of the project. They invited some important people from the community, the mayor, the school principal, the doctor from the health clinic, and even Mr. Wallace himself. "We want to show you an alternative we've found," said Robert. Throughout the afternoon, they demonstrated how the activities with the animals worked. They brought some of the children who had already participated in previous sessions, including Gabriel. The mayor was impressed. This could become an attraction for our town, a pilot project for animal therapy. The clinic doctor also showed interest. "We could refer pediatric patients who need this kind of stimulation." But the most important reaction came from Mr. Wallace. He observed everything in silence, paying special attention to how the animals behaved. "Robert," he said at the end of the presentation, "do you really believe this can work financially?" "I do. Of course, it will take time to establish, but the potential exists." Mr. Wallace was thoughtful for a few minutes. "I'm going to make a different proposal. Instead of buying the animals, how about I invest in your project?" Everyone was surprised. "What do you mean?" asked Jennifer. "I can finance the necessary adaptations on the farm, the training courses, the licenses. In return, I become a minority partner in the business." Robert and Jennifer looked at each other, not knowing what to say. "But why would you do that?" asked Emily. Mr. Wallace smiled. "Because I have a grandson your age who struggles in school. After seeing how that boy Gabriel transformed here today, I realized you're doing something very valuable." The partnership proposal opened up possibilities they hadn't even imagined. With Mr. Wallace's investment, they could speed up the process and create a professional structure for the project. "We'll need a few days to discuss it as a family," said Robert. "No problem. But now you have a real choice. Sell the animals or build something new with them." That night the family gathered for the most important conversation of their lives. "What do you think of Mr. Wallace's proposal?" asked Robert. "I think it's the opportunity we've been waiting for," said Jennifer. "With his business experience and our connection with the animals, it could work out very well." William, who had been quiet during the whole discussion, finally spoke. "Do you know what's the most important thing I've seen in these past few months?" "What, Grandpa?" asked Emily. "I saw a 7-year-old girl teach an entire family that sometimes the solutions are right in front of us, but we just can't see them." He got up and went to the window, looking at the corral where Thunder, Hope, and Victory were sleeping peacefully. "When I started losing my sight, I thought I was losing everything. But actually it was through Emily's eyes that I discovered things I had never seen before." Jennifer felt her eyes fill with tears. "What do you mean?" "I mean, this girl taught us that caring isn't just a responsibility. It's a form of love. And when we truly love, we find ways to make things work." Robert nodded. "So are we deciding to accept the partnership?" "We're deciding to build Emily's dream," corrected William. From that decision on, things started moving quickly. Mr. Wallace kept his investment promise. The farm was adapted with specific areas for therapeutic activities, restrooms for visitors, a covered area for rainy days, and even a small amphitheater for educational presentations. Jennifer enrolled in an animal-assisted therapy course, while Robert learned about rural business management. Emily, even though she was a child, participated in all the training sessions her age allowed. Thunder, Hope, and Victory underwent specialized training to become certified therapy animals. "It's impressive how quickly they learned," commented the specialist, who came from Chicago for the training, "especially how they respond to Emily's commands. It's like there's a special connection." "There really is," confirmed Emily. "We understand each other without needing to speak." After 6 months of preparation, the day finally came for the official inauguration of Project Hope, the name chosen in honor of the cow that had been the starting point of the entire transformation. The inauguration was attended by families from various towns in the region, healthcare professionals, educators, and even a journalist from the regional newspaper. "How did the project idea come about?" the journalist asked Emily. "It came about because I wanted my animal friends to stay with me, but I also wanted to help my family. Then I discovered I could do both things at the same time." "And what's the main goal?" "To show people that animals can be our teachers. They teach about patience, affection, responsibility, and they also help when we're sad or scared." The project's first official client was a 9-year-old girl named Sophie, who had developed depression after her parents separated. She arrived accompanied by her mother and a psychologist. "Sophie, these are my friends, Thunder, Hope, and Victory," introduced Emily. "Which one would you like to meet first?" Sophie was shy and didn't answer, but Victory, who was now quite grown, approached slowly and touched her nose to the girl's hand. "She wants to be friends," explained Emily softly. Gradually, Sophie relaxed. First she just touched Victory, then started talking quietly to her. "Does she understand what I'm saying?" asked Sophie. "Yes, she does. Maybe not the words, but she understands the feelings." For an hour, Sophie played with the 3 animals, helped feed them, brushed Victory's fur, and even smiled a few times. When it was time to leave, she asked, "Can I come back next week?" "Of course. Victory will be waiting for you." Sophie's mother was emotional. It had been months since I'd seen my daughter smile like that. In the following months, Project Hope served dozens of children and teenagers. Each case was unique, but everyone found some kind of comfort and learning in interacting with the animals. Gabriel became a regular visitor. His friendship with Thunder had transformed his behavior at school and at home. He even started helping with other visitors, teaching them how to approach the animals. "Miss Emily, can I be your assistant?" he asked one day. "You already are my assistant, Gabriel, and one of the best." The project's impact reached the state capital. A university contacted them to develop a research partnership about the benefits of animal-assisted therapy in rural communities. "We would like to document your work," explained University Professor Dr. Helen Sanders. "This kind of project can be replicated in other regions." Jennifer was proud. "Imagine, Emily, your idea could help children all over the country." "It wasn't just my idea, Mum. It was everyone's idea together, and especially the bulls, who taught me that taking care of others makes us feel good." 1 year after the project began, the family gathered to evaluate the results. Financially, the venture was doing well. More importantly, they had found a way of life that combined work, family, and purpose. "Emily," said Robert during the project's 1-year anniversary dinner, "do you remember the day we found out you were taking the bulls for walks by yourself?" "Yes, I remember, Dad." "Were you scared that day?" "I was. Scared that you would get mad at me, scared that you would take the bulls away, scared that Grandpa would be sad. And now?" Emily looked out the kitchen window where she could see Thunder, Hope, and Victory grazing peacefully in the evening light. "Now, I'm scared of different things." "Like what?" "Scared I won't be able to help all the children who need it, scared that the bulls will get old, scared I won't study enough to be a good veterinarian." Jennifer laughed. "Those are the fears of someone with important responsibilities." "Yeah, Mom, but they're good fears, because they show I have important things to take care of." William, who now saw perfectly after his cataract surgery, watched the conversation with a smile on his face. "Emily, can I tell you a secret?" "Of course, Grandpa." "When you were very little, your mother always said you would do great things in life. I thought she was exaggerating, like all mothers do. And now I know she was right, but for a different reason than I imagined." "What do you mean?" "I thought doing great things meant being successful, making money, being famous. But you taught me that doing great things is taking good care of the people and animals we love." That night, after everyone had gone to sleep, Emily went out to say goodnight to the animals, as she did every night. "Thunder, Hope, Victory, thank you for everything you've taught me." Thunder approached and lowered his big head so she could stroke between his horns, just as they had done since the first day. "You know that new girl is coming tomorrow, right? The one who lost her dad in the accident? I'll need your help to make her feel better." Hope let out a soft moo as if agreeing. "And Victory, you'll have to be extra affectionate. Sometimes those who have lost someone important need a lot of love." Victory, now a teenage heifer, came closer and pressed her muzzle against Emily's face in a gesture that seemed like a good-night kiss. As she walked back to the house, Emily thought about how her life had changed. It started with a scared little girl trying to help her grandfather take care of the animals. It turned into a united family building something bigger than any of them could have imagined alone. The following year, Project Hope won a state government award as an innovative rural therapy initiative. Emily, now 9 years old, was invited to accept the award on behalf of the family. "This award belongs to everyone who believed that a little girl could take care of big bulls," she said in her speech. "But it belongs mostly to Thunder, Hope, and Victory, who taught me that love has no size and that caring is the most important thing there is." When they returned home with the award, a surprise was waiting for them. Hope was showing signs that she would have another calf. "It seems our family is going to grow again," observed Dr. Anderson, who now visited the farm regularly. "What are we going to name the new baby?" asked Jennifer. Emily thought for a moment, looking at the award they had received, at the Project Hope sign at the farm entrance, at her parents and grandfather working together, at all the children who had found joy and healing in interacting with the animals. "I'll call her Gratitude," she decided, "because that's what I feel for everything that happened." 2 months later, Gratitude was born, a healthy and energetic little calf. And with her, the certainty that some stories don't have endings, just new beginnings. The first child Gratitude met was a 5-year-old girl who had arrived at the project that week. She was afraid of all the big animals, but when she saw the little calf, her eyes lit up. "She's tiny like me," she said, approaching without fear. "That's true," Emily confirmed. "And you two will grow up together, learning from each other." As she watched the new friendship forming, Emily smiled, understanding that her journey as a caregiver for animals and people was just beginning. Years later, When she was already a teenager studying veterinary medicine at a university in the capital, Emily always returned home on weekends to help with the project. Project Hope had become a national reference in animal-assisted therapy, but for her, it remained simply the place where she learned that caring is the purest form of love. Thunder, even though he was old, continued to be the favorite animal of the shyest children. Hope had become an excellent mother, teaching her young ones to be gentle with visitors, and Victory, now a grown cow, had developed a special instinct for identifying children who needed extra care. "Mum," Emily said during one of these visits, "do you remember that day when you found out I was taking the oxen for walks?" "As if it were yesterday." "Why?" "Sometimes I think about what would have happened if you had just forbidden me or sold the animals." Jennifer hugged her daughter. "I guess we'll never know, but I know we made the right decision when we chose to listen to you. And if I ever have children, I'll teach them the same thing you taught me." "What was that?" "That when we have a problem, instead of giving up, we can look for a solution that makes everyone happy, and that sometimes the best ideas come from the smallest people." That afternoon, Emily walked once more along the dirt road where it all began, but now she wasn't alone leading 2 oxen. She was accompanied by a group of visiting children, leading a small procession of animals that had become therapists, specialized in healing hearts. "Aunt Emily," one of the boys asked, "did you always know that oxen could help sad people?" "No. I found out by chance when I myself needed help." "And how did you know it would work?" Emily looked at Thunder, who was walking patiently beside a girl in a wheelchair, adjusting his pace to the rhythm of the wheelchair. "I didn't. I just tried. And I found out that when we do things with love, they have a better chance of working out. Even when we're small. Especially when we're small, because we still believe everything is possible." The sun setting behind the mountains painted the sky in golden hues, just like in those early days, when a 7-year-old girl made the decision to take care of 2 huge oxen all by herself. The difference was that now she was no longer alone. She was surrounded by family, friends, animals, and children who had found through her the magic of caring and being cared for. End of story. So, what did you think of this touching story? Leave in the comments which part touched your heart the most, and tell us if you've ever had any special experience with animals. Your opinion is very important to us. Don't forget to leave your like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other stories that will move and inspire you. Thank you for your company.